Hello guys, so today we're going to be having a look at worksheet number 1, question number 1. It's the table that you can see on screen. It tells us to complete the table by ticking the correct columns for each number. So let's have a look. First number is number 0. Now we know 0 is the first number that we introduce when we look at whole numbers. So it will be a whole number. It's excluded from the natural numbers, but 0 is also an integer. It's not irrational, it is rational. It's not non-real, and it is real. So that would be 0. Next up we've got pi, and pi is one of those examples we use to describe the irrational numbers. It is an unending decimal, so it's irrational. But irrational numbers are also real, so it would be both of those. Next up, we've got this 0.56. It is a terminating decimal, and per definition, these are rational numbers. Right? All rational numbers are also real, so it's only those two. Right? Next up, we've got 8. 8 is of course a natural number. It's also a whole number. It would be an integer. It's not irrational. We can write it as a fraction, so 8 over 1 or 16 over 2, and so that would make it a rational number, and of course it is real. The next example we've got is the square root of -2, which is an even root of a negative number. So per our definition, that would be a non-real number. Next up, we've got the cube root of -8. Now the cube root of -8, we can actually find it would be -2. And so we can see that the cube root of -8, which is actually -2, is of course an integer. It would be rational, and it is real. Okay. Next up, we've got the cube root of 3, which if we were to ask our calculator what that would be, it's going to give us an unending decimal, 1,7 if I recall. Let's quickly have a look. The square root of 3 is in fact 1,732805080 and so on and so forth. Right? So the square root of 3 is an unending decimal, which makes it irrational and real. Any surd would be an irrational number. Right? Next up, we've got 14 over 0. Now anything divided by 0 would be undefined. Right, so it doesn't fall within any of these categories, as it is not defined within any of them. Right, next up we've got -3, which is an integer. We can write it as a fraction, -3 over 1, or 6 over -2, or something like that. And then of course it would be real as well. Right, lastly 4,8 is a terminating decimal, which is rational and therefore also real. Yeah, so that is question number 1 for worksheet 1.